Hey everyone. So our lesson for today is 6.5 scatter plots and line of best fit. So we're going to start off with our first example because we need to do a little bit of review from some prior lessons. So the first thing is I want you guys to practice finding the slope between 2 points. And say we're given the point 0, 19 and 10, -6. So first thing is that we need to recall is our slope formula. So m is equal to y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So we need to go to the 2 points that were given in the problem and label our x1 and y1, and then label our x2 and y2. Then from there, we just plug in our values into the formula. So y2 is -6, minus our y1 is 19, all over x2 is 10, minus our x1 is 0. So when we simplify that, we get -25 over 10 divided by 5 on the numerator and the denominator, giving us -5 over 2. So that is our slope. So remember that slope is rise over run. So we're going to actually go down 5 and then to the right 2. So keep that in mind because we're going to use that to do our line of best fit later. Okay, and let's do one more example from a prior lesson. So another review problem. So I want you guys to write the slope-intercept form of the equation. And say you're given that the point the line goes through is -1, 3, and say that the slope is -8. So let's recall what slope-intercept form is. It's y equals mx plus b. So that's our goal. The other thing we need to recall is if we have a point and a slope, there is an equation that we can use to get us to the y equals mx plus b form. So that equation is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So we are going to label a few things we have. So here the point, that could be our x1, y1, and then the slope, that represents the letter m. So we just take everything and we plug it into this equation right here. So y minus 3 is equal to our m is -8, parenthesis, x minus -1. So first, I'm going to fix that these two negatives right here will make a positive. So y minus 3 is equal to -8, and then x plus 1. And then here I have parentheses. I'm going to distribute that -8, giving us -8x minus 8. And remember that our goal is to get the y equals mx plus b form. So I need to isolate this y here. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So now I get y equals -8x and then -5. So we got it into our y equals mx plus b form. So we're done. But it would be nice just to label a few things. Our slope, that's -8 over 1. So we know that we're going to go down 8 and then to the right one. And then our y-intercept, it's at the point 0, -5. So that means that our line is going to cross through the y-axis at -5. Okay, so let's actually get into today's lesson now, the new stuff. And I'm going to put up a picture for you guys to visualize and see what a scatter plot would look like. Okay, so we can have three different scenarios. The first scenario is going to be a positive correlation. What that means is that your slope it's positive and that as your x value increases, the y value also increases. So they're going up towards the top right. Okay, the other one we have is a negative correlation, and your slope for this line is negative. So as your x values increase, your y values are decreasing. So the values are going to the bottom right. Okay, and the other third scenario we can have is a no correlation. So this just means that there's no pattern really going on between all the points. Okay, so we're going to actually apply this and we're going to graph points and then figure out the line that's best fit. So for example, we're going to try to find this line, or we can state that there's no pattern and there's no correlation. So let's start with our first example. Okay, so whenever you're given a graph, the very first thing you want to do is to plot all of your points. So we're just going to go through the table of values right here and just start plotting. So first one is 10, 20, make a point there, 20, 30, and then see this happens twice right here. We're not going to put another point there, we just leave it. So 30, 30. Then our last point is 80, 70. Okay, so looking at the directions, the first thing it says is to construct a scatter plot, and we did that, so check. Next thing is we need to state if there appears to be a positive correlation, negative correlation, or no correlation. Looking at this, so we can see that the values here are going up towards the right, the top right, and it looks like this image right here, and that is a positive correlation. So we're going to write that here, positive correlation. So we did the second part of the question. The last thing that it asks us is when there is a correlation, we need to find the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line that best fits the data. Remember from our previous example that the slope-intercept form is y equals to mx plus b. So we need to try to find that line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out a line and then try to fit it between the points the best I can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the line go through 2 points that is already there for me. So this one right here, and then also this one right here. The reason I am doing that is because it will make it a lot easier to do my equation later on. I also want to note that it also went through an additional point there, and you just had to choose 2 points overall that your line went through. Now, the reason why we have to choose 2 points is because if we look at our problem earlier, we can find the slope between 2 points. So that's what our goal is. We're going to use this equation now to find the slope of this line. So let's write down that equation. M is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we also need to write down the 2 points that we found. So the first one was 20, 30, and then the other point was 50, 50. Let's now label our x1, y1 and x2, y2. Then we could take those values and plug it in for our slope. So m is equal to y2 is 50 minus y1 is 30 over x2 is 50 minus our x1 is 20. When we simplify that, we get 20 over 30, or we can write as 2/3 because we can divide by 10 to both the numerator and denominator. Okay, so our slope is 2/3. We are trying to find the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b from earlier here. So now if you recall our second problem that we did, we were given a point and a slope to find our equation, y equals mx plus b, and that's exactly what we have over here now. We actually have 2 points to choose from, and we have our slope. So I'm going to choose this point right here because it's smaller numbers, so a little bit easier to plug in. And then I have my slope 2/3 there to plug in. So let's go ahead and do this problem now. So we're going to use that equation from that second problem that we did. So y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. We're going to plug in everything that we know. Our y1 is 30. Our slope is 2/3, so our m is 2/3. X minus our x1 is 20. Okay, just like in our second example, we're going to distribute first. So y minus 30 is equal to 2/3 x minus 2/3 times 20. When we multiply a fraction to a number, we need to put that over 1, and then we can just multiply straight across. So 2 times 20 is 40, over 3 times 1 is 3. And that fraction doesn't simplify, so we can just leave it as 40 over 3. Next thing is we just need to add 30 to get our y by itself. And then we have here negative 40 over 3, and we need to add 30. So I need a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply the 3 to the top and also 3 to the bottom, giving me negative 40/3 plus 90/3. And if we add that together, it's 50/3. So it's actually a positive 50 over 3. And then there is our slope-intercept form for the line of best fit that we drew here. So for that line. Okay, so let me give you guys another example. So construct a scatter plot, state if there appears to be any positive, negative, or no correlation, and then if there is a correlation, then find the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line best fit. So remember, our very first step is to plot all of our points. So see that this goes up to 200, so we know that this value here is 100. So half of that is 50. That will kind of help you plot your points. So 10, 400 is going to be really close. and then 21,000. Okay, so there are all of our points. Now I want you guys to think about the type of correlation that is going on here. If you need a refresher, you can look back at the previous part of our video where I gave you guys the chart. And out of these three, which one does our graph look like? Here. Okay, so if you have guessed no correlation, then you are correct. This is a no correlation. There's not a pattern going on here. So we can write down no correlation. And that means that you do not have to find the line of best fit here, since there is not a line that you can create with these points. All right, and that's it for today's lesson. I hope everyone is doing well.